Imagine you see this face. You would think, oh, I wonder what kind of person they are. Or you wonder what their name is. What they are like. Only to see them go by an alias of John or Jane Doe. You see a face, but it has no identity. Just a blank sketch. There are many strange websites on the internet. After all, it is the internet. And a lot of them are pretty creepy. I think we can all agree though that if something is real, the more creepy it becomes. And there's a website that turns this up to 11. The FBI's VICAP Unidentified Persons page is a prime example of this. There are many intriguing informations on this website. Of course, there's the infamous FBI's Most Wanted. There's a section dedicated towards counterintelligence. You know, spy stuff. There's even a section full of hackers that's wanted by the FBI. There's also a section towards terrorists. And unfortunately, there's a section called ECAP, or the Endangered Child Alert Program. I'm not going to talk about the details about this section, but you can probably guess what kind of page this is dedicated towards. If you are to visit this page, there's a strong trigger warning. But today we're here to talk about the unidentified deceased people. The Violent Criminal Operation Program is a page dedicated to the deceased victims that were not able to be identified during the time of death. Also, keep in mind that the people that are in the sketches that you see are just an estimate of what they might have looked like. Keep in mind that many of these sketches were taken from human remains and even from skeletal remains. They are identified with simply Jane or John Doe. There's approximately 40,000 decedents in the United States, with California being the largest amount with unidentified victims. Here are some stories from Jane and John Doe's. Becca. Becca was a woman who was found hanging from a motel shower. Her death was ruled as a suicide, but the story seems very odd. She was found on June 5, 1991 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She was about 25 to 35 of age and weighed 140 pounds, and she was of Caucasian descent. Somewhere around 9:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. on June 3rd of 1991, a truck driver named Eduardo Colon arrived at a Super 8 motel in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He rented a room for 2 people for the night and was expected to check out at 11 a.m. the following day. Eduardo provided legitimate information on the registration slip except for the false vehicle license plate number. Eduardo was given room 233. The discovery happened on June 5th, as it was realized that Eduardo had failed to check out of his room, so a security guard went to check his room. He found the room to be locked from the inside, and he had to use a screwdriver to get in. When he got inside the room, he didn't notice anything unusual apart from the multiple alcohol bottles that was on the table. However, when he went into the bathroom, he found a woman, in this case Becca, hanging from the shower. Becca had hung herself with a suitcase strap. She believed to have died on June 3rd, the day Eduardo checked in. The woman was severely decomposed. However, a photograph was on the table, believed to be as Becca. This picture shows a woman, in this case Becca, along with another man, who the motel employees has identified as Eduardo. It is thought that this photo was taken at a mall photo booth just before her suicide. It was several years before Eduardo's family was located, and by the time they were found, he had died of natural causes. Eduardo's family was shown the photograph of the pair, and they confirmed that Eduardo was not the man in the picture, and had no idea who the woman was. A scale was found in the room's table with the name George Martinez written on it, and it is believed that the scale may have been used to weigh the package of drugs. It is speculated that George Martinez may have been the man in the picture. However, no one fitting his description was located as George Martinez, as that is a common name. Lady of the Dunes. This is a pretty well-known story, but I decided to add this because of how interesting it is. The Lady of the Dunes was named after a body of a decomposing woman was found on the Race Point Dunes in Provincetown, Massachusetts on July 26, 1974. She was found with her face down on a beach blanket. Police suspects that there was no sign of struggle, so it is believed that she either knew her killer or she was asleep by the time of her death. She was about 5'6", weighed about 174 pounds, and she had appeared to be about 25 to 40 years old. The woman was nearly decapitated, possibly from strangulation, and the side of her head was crushed with a military-type entrenching tool. It is said that the head injury is what killed her. There was also signs of sexual assault, most likely after her death. She was also found without her hands and some missing teeth. This may be because the killer was trying to hide their or her identity. Keep in mind that she was also found with a blue bandana, denim jeans, and a ponytail holder at the scene of the crime. One possible lead is that a woman told the police that the woman looked like her sister who went missing in 1974. Another was a Canadian woman told her friend that she saw her own father strangle someone in Massachusetts around 1972, but the Canadian woman was not located. So yeah, not much telling if I'm gonna be honest. Now I'm gonna show you a clip from the 1975 movie Jaws. Did you catch that? Jaws was filmed about 100 miles away from Provincetown between May to October 1974. This theory was brought by the son of Stephen King, Joe Hill. When he was watching the movie, he found a similar resemblance. Honestly, in my opinion, this theory is the best possible identification for the Lady of the Dunes. Police wasn't able to identify the woman as she was an extra and the casting director had already passed. For now, the Lady of the Dunes remains unidentified. Septic Tank Sam. Septic Tank Sam, or Sam, was found in a septic tank of an abandoned property in 1977 at Lynbrook, Alberta, a small town near Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He appeared to be a Caucasian or First Nation descent. He was found wrapped up in a yellow bedsheet and tied with nylon rope. And what makes this more shocking was the state he was found in. Sam was found with 2 gunshot wounds to the head and chest. Before his death, he'd been tortured. He was beat up, tied up, burned with a small butane torch and cigarettes, and he was also found to be sexually mutilated with a sharp object. His sexual mutilations were apparently so bad that it took the medical examiner several months to properly identify the victim as male. It is known that he'd been tied to a bed and tortured. The medical examiner suspected the use of farm shears, and the authorities suspected that he was murdered elsewhere, and the septic tank was just a dumping ground. Sam's murderers are suspected to know him due to how he was killed. Septic Tank Sam was discovered as Gordon Sanderson on January 2021, and his identity was released to the public 5 months later. He was born October 22nd, 1950 in Manitoba, and he was only 26 when he was murdered. Sanderson was an Indigenous man. The last time he spoke with his family was when he mentioned that he was going to visit his brother in Calgary. It is very unfortunate that Gordon had to go through this, but his death will not be unknown. All the people that I mentioned are victims of horrific murders, and that's only 3 out of the thousands or maybe even millions of people around the globe that doesn't have an identity that belongs to them. Even though there are many people that are still unidentified, there are many people working to discover the people that have been passed in those terrible ways. I think the scariest part about this is that anyone, even you and I, can become just a Jane or John Doe. If you had to take something away from this video, is that to cherish your loved ones, as you don't know when they're gonna perish. My heart goes out to all the victims that suffered this undeserving death, and hopefully, one day, one by one, they are discovered. This has been Liminality. Thank you, and good night.